them for sure.
Why do you just not read the books then?
Man, because I've been there. I'm like, oh no, I read the early chapters like 6 months ago. Now I can't remember what it was. I need to reread it.
And that puts you off again. You're just like,
Yep.
well, that was 6 months ago. And,
Yeah, exactly. Vicious cycle.
Do you have books that you've just like read the same chapter 4 or 5 times?
The biggest one is definitely Thinking Fast and Slow. Is probably a book that I think and I know is very important, but I can't.
Do you have it? Do you have it there? Do you have the cover?
Yeah, I do have a copy.
Yeah, just show me the cover. Hold it up to your face. Oh, I don't have that at all. That's a good one. You like that one? Thinking Fast and Slow?
This one I've been told is extremely important.
Extremely important.
Important, yes.
Wow. Important.
Yeah.
That is funny. Like, important how, do you know?
Yeah. It kind of talks about a lot of bases of psychology. And if you are able to understand it at a fundamental level, you can bring it to game design and affect almost everything in your game design.
Are we just going to talk about books? Do you want to just talk about books?
It'll be you carrying it for sure, but I'll do my best if you want to.
Yeah.
I should be the one that's asking you questions. Like I said, I want to get better at that.
Oh shit, yeah. Well, you know, I mean, yeah, right. Well, you know, I mean, we can definitely give it a go for a little bit. This is what I'm reading right now, actually. So this is one of my favorite people of all time ever. It's called the woman is called Lady Allen of Hurtwood. She's an MBA, right? So she was knighted by the British monarchy, right? But it is called Planning for Play. This woman was born in 18.
Wait, are we recording?
Yes. I may have just sneakily thrown it on, but yes.
Okay.
Don't hate me. Don't hate me.
No, all good.
Sometimes you just gotta capture the juice, man. I don't know. Now I fucked myself because I wanted to go make another cup of coffee before actually getting into anything, and now I can't. But whatever. So the reason why if you are a game person, I believe, right, especially a creative person, I believe in whatever that book the one samurai wrote a long time ago that I have no idea what the title was. But he doesn't just write about being a samurai, he writes about poetry, and he writes about language and story and literature. It's about being a more well-rounded human being rather than just focusing, subsetting into your industry. And like,
absolutely.
I find that going outside of what is traditional game design and game design books, and that strata will help you to also find some other angle to be able to like look at things. But specifically this woman, Planning for Play, she was a playground designer. Actually, she was a what do you call it?
Architect?
Not an architect, but you know an architect for gardens. What the fuck is that called?
Oh, I don't know.
In horticulture.
Let me look that up.
Yeah, what? Botanist? No, what the hell is it called again? Jesus.
As we spout about how we should learn about everything.
Shut up.
We don't know this word. No, I don't know. I searched for it. I see landscape architect, but
yeah, pretty much
landscaper.
A landscaper. Yeah.
Landscaper, I guess.
Yeah. So she was a landscaper from late 1800s to died in the thing after World War II. And in an extremely interesting thing, she was either living in Denmark or in the Netherlands, and had seen how they had set up these metropolis high skyrise area, you know, like social housings, and then they had taken those and had built like you can see some of the like craziness here, right? Like this was all over Europe around that time, where we just need to house people because, you know, things were absolutely fucked.
And that led to the brutalist movement, because that's because concrete was
Concrete.
cheap.
Yeah.
And
They
then
had to bring it
they
up.
they're just like boom boom, they just keep raising these structures, and it was a sign of the times.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the first couple of chapters here, it's very interesting. She goes over another big picture of just like these crazy council houses, you know? So
Yeah.
you have just families and families and families living in these places. And some interesting statistics arise whereby families that are on higher floors have less access to greener grass and to actual play spaces. The higher you went on the terrace, the worse your overall lifespan was by like
That's
an
crazy.
extreme factor. Um, Parents wouldn't allow their kids, because the higher you went on the terrace, the further you were away, and the further you had to go away from the domicile, you had to. Kids then wouldn't play on, wouldn't be able to go out into the streets, and the streets were often filled with cars, and they're not built for kids to actually play in. So how do you build these massive tenant houses, but also then create these like play spaces for kids to be kids, especially after World War II, when guess what, a lot of these kids and didn't come back, right? Like in Britain, during the bombings, families would go into their shelters, right? If they hear that air raid going off at night, but they would still go to school the next day. People were still going to work. Like the economy still moved. And sometimes you would just, well, actually, not even just sometimes, quite a few times, you would just come back and you would just see an empty chair. And you're talking about like a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, you know what I mean, that now has to like deal with, hey, like, where's Timmy, right? And the fact of the matter is at that time they all knew, you know what I mean? They all knew. So they've done a serious amount of growing to just like, and gone through a lot of tragedy. But she took this concept of really trying to build out a real play space for children that was all about, actually, here's movable objects, you can actually make this space yourself. Here's tools, here's a hammer, here's some nails, like you can make things here. Here's some
I have
paint.
a quick question.
Yeah.
What year was this book published?
Oh Jesus.
This is well before video games, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 19. Again, she was like late 1800s to 1940 something odd.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So it's I can't even see it on the publishing. So.
I can look it up, but it's probably that probably answers my question.
1974 was the first print.
Okay.
Yeah. Copyright was 1968, so maybe she died a lot later than what I'm actually explaining, but.
Right.
But these play spaces were for kids to build their own spots. So here's a couple of kids, they've got bricks, and they are building more tangible skills. She always believed that just playgrounds in general were too sanitized, and oftentimes static things wouldn't actually allow children to create the real play that they actually wanted to have. And in general, kids wanted to, as they're getting older, they are exploring themselves, exploring their bodies, exploring their own limitations, trying to find themselves, and they between early child psychology, right? They live and work in play spaces, right? So children learn everything through play. It's like everything is kind of imagination and play up until a certain point where then things start splitting and becoming more like this is real and this is play, right? But up until that point, a lot of it is sat in an imagination world of what if, right? And because you're just like not really there for it. But the biggest thing was like giving kids the ability, like here's a kid with a hammer and a nail, he's like putting it into a wall at a playground, right? Like these types of things didn't happen, and don't happen anymore. But here was like a couple of different versions of playgrounds that she felt were like just ridiculous. One of them up here you can really see is just like supposed to be like monkey bars, right? You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And this
the
one,
jungle gym of death.
yeah, and this one over here is like, you know, some concrete slabs and, you know, some piping and stuff. But she called it the ironmongery period, the proliferation of prison bars, where you know, where it was just like trying to, you know, like people who didn't really get it, right? So this is just like, oh yeah, just give the kids a big yard, and in the
Yeah,
background over here there's some seesaws.
yeah.
She calls this like an administrator's heaven and a child's hell, because it's just a giant open fucking flat land of nothing, right? So she'd taken these concepts from Denmark and moved it over to England to try and build in these spaces for children to readapt into lifestyle, but then also then would lambast architects for building shitty spaces and never thinking about kids. They were always thinking about just building the home, but never thinking about what is the access to that thing. Do the kids have to cross a street to get there? What does that actually mean? Should there, you know, like, for those things? But another
I
side
love
of it,
that.
another side of it too was also just later on she goes into access to play. One of the most early adopters of all children must be able to play within these spaces. So children with disabilities, children with motion disabilities, you know, and in general, they need to also be able to be children. So she was a big proponent of, hey, don't just make a swing that, you know what I mean, normal kids can make. Like, build something that everybody can get involved. And the big reason here is that why this kind of stuff worked in this time is, one, because I guess the world was a little rougher back then, right? So the parents were allowing their children to fail a lot more, which I think is also kind of like a good thing. But because of these spaces were kind of made by children and a little bit messy by children, and they could pick things up and kind of move them and make the spaces their own, they instantly were able to lock themselves into the world of, this is my space, like this
Magic
is
circle.
yeah. So they're able to build their idyllic idea of whatever is going on, and then they just fall into that cycle of play, and that's like a higher level thing that I don't know if the average person thinks about. But like, when I talk about play to my friends, it's really funny, like play and fun. My mate Mads and I love him to death. We were playing tennis one day, and we're hitting the ball back and forth, and for whatever reason we got on the topic of play, and I said no, like, he was like, oh, we're playing, and I was like, yeah, but we're actually in a state of play. Like, we're not playing. Playing is the state. We're hitting the ball back and forth, and in that state of play, by doing actions, we're generating fun. So it's not like we're not, you don't set out to have fun, right? You set out, the fun is the end thing. It's the end thing that we generate. But we do something, we do actions, and those actions are contexted in play, because we have a rule set. We have and we have aligned on that rule set of what that is. It actually takes us outside of the actual world and puts us there. So that's the only thing that matters now, is like that little space. And by doing those actions based off of the rules and aligning on those, we generate fun. And that was like an interesting thing for that. If you're thinking about play and you're thinking about child play as well, it's like, you don't just set out and say like, hey, let's, you know what I mean, fun is a thing that I'm, like, this nebulous thing that I'm going to go and do. Like, you don't do fun. You don't, that's not what you do, but you have to make fun. And in this context, it allowed children to jump into those moments of oh, this is the rules now. Like, this is, I'm gonna build this, and that's gonna be my play, and then they're in, and now they're having fun.
That's super interesting. Is like they leave all these game mechanics kind of lying around to be turned into a game by the children. That's was
But
very interesting.
I'm really excited to get deeper into this book. This thing is kind of crazy. It goes into like group play. There's just pictures and pictures throughout, but it's a lot of just like how do you build tangible spaces for children to be able to explore themselves, be able to fail, but also not be so coddled within the whole thing. Like here's kids making cement, and like an adult just kind of like supervising or watching. It's like, where the fuck is that going? But that's at the playground, dude. Like that's
the one kid in the history that fell into one of these vats. He ruined it for everyone.
yeah.
They're like, all right, we can't do this anymore. No more Willy Wonka.
Yeah, like last one here. This one here is labeled Sir John Wood's Adventure Playground in London, and it's just a bunch of kids around a fireplace, just burning wood and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people might say that this is like antisocial behaviors these days or whatever, but the reality is like kids want to make forts. And if you afford them the opportunity to do that and then also give them some life skills so that you're building along the way there, like, hey, like, here's a piece of wood, here's some nails. And then back in, that time, like, general carpentry was like very neat. Everybody needed this stuff. You know what I mean? It's not just like you're building things out of metal or buying it off of eBay these days. You know what I mean? It's just
we have super sterilized experience nowadays. Like in Disneyland, there's this little island where you just, I think it was like Tom Sawyer's Island or something, and you just run on it, and there's like bridges and stuff, and that's like the closest you can get to exploring. But the kids there are super excited just to even see a cave. And even though it's like a fake cave, and just like run around it, it's cool, pretty cool to see.
Yeah, but she wrote a bunch of books, Design for Play, Adventure Playgrounds, Play Parks, and New Playgrounds.
Interesting.
So if you ever want, again, like think about this from my perspective. A playground is where children play, but play still happens here. So how? What other game designers are not looking at things that are playful and missing those opportunities to learn why are these spaces good or bad? Like especially when you get older. I'm 30 now, right? I'm absolutely thinking about children. I'm absolutely thinking about my future as a dad, if that even occurs. Who the hell knows? I'm probably sterile.
That's the Twitch highlight right there.
but it's about exploring outside of your own nomenclature box, right? Getting abstracting out from the computer. Like, I love this stuff. Like, here's another one that I've talked about a few different times, like The Psychology of Play by Susanna Miller. This book by itself was published, first published in 1968. And it's not to say that you need to, prefaces you, not to say that you have to go back and go read other books, but like, this book has caught me because it was written at a time where there were no computers. Like, the average connection to a computer was not the same, right? So children learned and played so differently. The world has completely changed from the time that they wrote this book and thought about play to now. So trying to find some connection between the two is massive. And child's play is regular play. It's just maybe a more innocent version of play. I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't tell you that, but it tries to get you there at least, But this one's fun. Not to go on, but the first couple of chapters are all about the play of animals. They talk through the lineage of what we thought play was in kids and in animals, and they tried to like do a bunch of studies, the earliest study of what play was. And their whole context was like, play is energy transfer. Kids they're like batteries. They have a lot of energy, so they play to deplete that energy. And it was like, that's not how that works. You know what I mean? You can see how it changes over time into, kind of, I think, formally where it is now, where it's like play is about skill adaptation and learning through learning through context. It's kids are playing to one, try to enjoy themselves, but they don't really do it consciously, they kind of fall into a play pattern, and the play itself then tries to, hopefully, depending on what they're doing, it reinforces actions within real life that they're actually experiencing or doing. So you'll oftentimes see children like playing with dolls, but they're acting out things that happen within their homes because they're trying to actually like contextualize, like, what are they seeing within their world, and how am I supposed to experience this? And little times they're kind of replaying or parroting things that they have been pulled down from their own small experience. And it's really interesting to see like how that plays out, especially in children's social settings, because like temper tantrums kind of happen if, you know, mommy and daddy are shouting, and then the kids get the dolls, and then all of a sudden you see the kid in the thing, and they're fucking bashing the dolls against each other, but they might be bashing one into the other, and then you're like, what's happening here? That's,
yeah.
What are you doing that? Why is it always this? Why is it always that? Why is it always this one? Mommy and daddy, I walk into their room and they're on top of each other, and mommy's making noises and daddy's sweating.
Those damn snitches.
Yeah, those motherfuckers.
Yeah, you know, regarding the books, and I might have said this in a previous podcast, I'm not sure, but one of the things I've learned as a more new reader, because I'd never really read before, was that it's okay and sometimes good to read the older material. And because in the past I used to be like, oh, this book's from the 50s, this is all outdated information, but that's, I mean, it's partially true.
It's
But it's
partially
also,
true.
yeah, it's also true that a lot of people, same with games, do derivative work, so they stem off of original concept, and then they try to stand out. And their variation doesn't necessarily mean they're saying something correct. So usually the often cited works, you can just take those original works and then maybe apply your own knowledge, especially when it comes to game design, because there's such little literature when it comes to game design.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel about like knowing the lineage of it all, or should game design just be pure and in the moment and of the times, right? So like going back, you know, like a lot of people would say going back and analyzing Pong is not fucking useful, right? It's not valuable. It's like maybe go back and like look at Call of Duty 2, or go look at like the, you know, the one where they, you know, they had D-Day, and it's, you know, changed the Call of Duty franchise forever, right? Like you're rolling up on Normandy. But you know, analyzing this one is probably more useful and is more of the times than going all the way back to this thing, and trying to even get anything out of it. But
Right.
yeah, that's obviously an extreme case, but try to abstract that away from the two games and just say, you know, old game, new, old game. Shit. Fucked.
Yeah.
That's fucking 25 years old.
So, yeah, to answer the question, actually, I nowadays go back a lot, because what's happening is you have an evolutionary tree, and you know some of the old games got pruned off, and nowadays you have, you know, the latest COD, and it is, I don't think just because it's like the most popular and latest game, I don't think it's mm, it might be the best for the times, but kind of let me give you an example, like and I don't know, Sim Ant. Like Sim Ant is an old game. There's only one of them. It came out in 1996. It was a Maxis game. So
Mm-hmm.
Will Wright was behind it. Yeah. And like nowadays, you can take that game, look at it, and create a variant, and it'll probably be successful. But a lot of people forget about it because it's not in the current bubble of game types. So I think it's absolutely possible, and you should look at older games to scour for ideas. There's definitely a lot of golden nuggets there that
Yeah.
just didn't survive.
Yeah, it's hard to do that because those ones that are not like in the lineage zeitgeist or whatever, then they peel off and have that ending moment, right? But they might have something crazy unique about it. I'm trying, you know, they usually don't get remembered, so they're not talked about. There's not YouTube videos about.
Yeah,
They're hidden in some Wikipedia article, maybe,
it's hard.
and it's hard to find them and abstract away from it. And there's also like Even just finding a picture of it, or then they're running, emulated version is always fun. And yeah, it's an interesting time, like the history of old games. And I'm glad that there are institutions that have just like independently started to just preserve old titles, you know what I mean? Because these things would just go away completely, and we would just throw them all away and never think about them again. But we will hopefully be able to have that backwards compatibility and keep going. You know what I mean? Like the idea that kids these days couldn't play the first Crash Bandicoot would be sad to me, because like Crash 1, Crash 2, Crash 3, CTR, magnificent. Four games that were absolutely brilliant for the platforming genre, and it was PlayStation's run at Nintendo. You know what I mean? And they succeeded. It built their company, built the gaming division of their company anyway out. Sony obviously major player in opticals at that time as well. So they were already doing well, but that's the pivot that you take.
What do you think is a really, I don't know, this might be a hard question. What's kind of like a more obscure game that you've played that you wish like more people would have played to have thrown into their game design like mentality or
Jesus.
knowledge? I know that's hard. I don't even have a game off the top of my head.
So the worst part is that I do have games, but they're not that old.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I think it is fun, but the ultimate game designer's game for me is the beginner's guide.
Okay.
The beginner's guide messed me up internally, like absolutely ruined me. I couldn't work for 3 days afterwards. I genuinely came into work depressed. I sat down at my computer. I was having a full blown existential crisis of I'm not a real game designer. I don't know what I'm really doing. And I've dedicated my life to sucking ass at my career.
Oh my
And
god.
I felt horrid afterwards, because I knew for a fact that with the tools that this person had used to create this thing, and I had grown up using the same tools, they had been able to accomplish something that I will never be able to accomplish, which is making some cracked out walking experience that is enthralling from the moment that you press start to the moment that you end it.
Yeah.
And I was so just enthralled by the world, the sequence of things that were happening. I was so emotionally in it because of how well crafted it really is, that it boggled my mind that such a thing existed, and that I was never going to ever be able to reach that level.
Woo.
And
Yeah.
that fucked me up real hard. It's still I don't want to go back and play that game.
Yeah.
I want to, but I really don't, cuz
I understand.
I will hurt. But I think the hurt is good, because that hurt gave me a drive to get back in the saddle. And after that, I stopped just being working commercial. That's when I took a moment and started. Then I built a plan to try and build out my Rocky Mountain Game Developer Association. I executed on it. We did a year of talks, 2 different game jams. After that, after that, it is what it is. But trying to, it gave me the boost to say I need to strive for my own work here and my own self. And that was a game that like not many people I think have really played,
No, I don't
seen,
think so.
heard of. Nobody knows the game designer. He's made another game that I love as well, and I don't remember it. And I don't know about you, but like I do the same thing in movies. Like I don't care about the director. I don't care about actors or actresses. I don't want to know your name. I just want you to be that person. I want you to be that character.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't want to. I always do the same shit. I watched Seven the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, like there's Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. It's like, I don't even know what your characters' names are. So now I've lost all character motivation. I don't know who you are. So it's just like, oh yeah, Brad Pitt just got beat the shit out of him. I was like, all right, you know. But like,
Don't get me started on celebrity worship and how people care about celebrities more than the characters. That is a big pet peeve. So
no,
please go on,
100%.
go on.
So like, it's just that whole thing was, that thing, yeah. You know, what I mean, it's just, I think like not knowing, but like knowing the works is obviously like a humongous thing to pay attention to. But yeah, like if, I mean, let me just think of real quick if there was. I'm just looking down my Steam list as
Sure.
fast as I can.
But yeah, what you're talking about, more people cite the Stanley Parable than that game, and they're often considered very similar
Yeah,
games.
yeah. And the Stanley Parable is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. And I've played it thoroughly, and the new DLC and everything like that. But I actually think that the beginner's guide is really the game that people should entertain, because where the Stanley Parable leaves interpretation and messiness and crazy with non-linearity, the other one is linear. This is this person really trying to tell you a story,
Yeah.
and being able to really experience that crafted level quality that that person is able to apply in non-linearity to a very linear experience is is remarkable. It is that person has a real eye for emotion, being able to like
Very
take
interesting.
3D things to be able to drive you into emotion. But
I forget. Did you say he had created other games since then?
just the Stanley Parable, right? The
Ye-
beginner's guide. You know, we kind of have to keep not saying he. I gotta find. Let's find the fucking name of this
no,
dude.
I thought I well the narrator is a male, so I
Yes.
assume that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the on Steam at least. Everything Unlimited LTD. Inspirational Quarterly. Oh, jeez.
I didn't even. Oh, that's a podcast. I see.
Yeah, funnily enough, like, cause the website October 1st, 2015, was like one post, and then Inspirational Quarterly, May 9th,
Great.
2022, and
Guess
then
he's just been working on the remake of
just.
or the yeah the sequel.
I wish I was able to dedicate my time and effort to that.
Yeah.
You know, but I have this thing called a job and a mortgage, and I have this thing called a car payment, and I got groceries were $300 for one fucking person there the day. So like,
Quality nutrients.
gas is $75 for to fill my tank. I just spent another $3,000 getting a security system because I'm an idiot and bought a classic car that has no security features whatsoever. So I had to get an alarm and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Like, there must be other games. Like, I've always had inspirational games, like games that have been inspirational, but nothing has ever hit me the same as that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything else other than that.
Well, I can talk on a game that is similar to what we're talking about in terms of old old games that kind of spawned a genre, and then people might have more forgot about it, or
Yeah.
they were derivative of it, but then like went in the wrong direction. So this game also happens to be my favorite game of all time, which is Mountain Blade Warband. So this game, if I had to describe it in a very small nutshell, is you get to recreate battles from Lord of the Rings, basically, in the sense that there are hundreds of players. one team is like sieging a castle and the other one is chopping down ladders filled with people storming it. There's like 100 people at your gateway with a battering ram, and you're like trying to stop it. It is just completely epic battles in a medieval world. And
Real
this is on
players or all
these are
RTS?
multiplayer. So most people do play the game single player, but I played the multiplayer only. So just this epic battle simulator in a way. Now there's a lot of games that came from this. Chivalry, For Honor,
Yeah.
and I'll actually talk about a couple of these. So Chivalry was a lot of these games had more refined combat. Oh, especially Mordhall. That's another one that was much more refined combat, I think, than Mount & Blade. So a lot of these games made a mistake. They did only like 16v16 or 32 versus 32.
Okay.
Or in the case of For Honor, it was only 4v4 to my knowledge, but
Yeah.
almost fighting games levels of combat. And like I played all of them, and none of these games, I think they all missed their mark, or they decided, hey, let's just focus on the combat. I always missed the giant battlefield feel of the games. I'm like, man, this whole branch, this evolutionary tree, needs to needs to revisit Mountain Blade and remember how epic it is to have literally 300 people multiplayer on a field doing forming shield walls or charging in cavalry formations. Like these are real tactics that people would actually practice, and
That's
somehow
nuts.
they got lost in time.
The did any of that cross over to the newer Mountain Blades? Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord?
Bannerlord. We'll see. So that game came out in early access, like I don't know, five. I don't actually know. 5 years ago? I don't know.
Release date was
Um,
2 years ago.
oh, 2 years ago. It feels like forever.
Though it
And
does feel like forever, though.
yeah, it feels like it's still in beta. Nobody that I know is really playing the game, so we'll see. And hopefully they take those lessons. But that's a good point. Maybe even the sequel might fail to live up to what I thought was the most memorable game.
It is funny because, yes, like, I think that the concept has been gripped. I'm, like, watching the video of it over here. Like, I think that the concept has been taken and moved and shuffled across a bunch of different games, right? We love epic battlefields. We absolutely love them. Um, but you're right. Chivalry has taken this spot, and also a couple of other things have as well. Sims did, not The Sims, but um,
Oh yeah.
weird like simulation strategy things. Arma took this, right?
Yep.
Like Arma 2 is, if you play any of the proper war side of the multiplayer things, it's this. It's like massive things, massive, everybody has a role and you're doing that role and executing it to do the best thing possible. And one of my favorite times was playing Arma 2 Arrowhead and being a Chinook pilot, and that's all I did. That's all I wanted to
Yeah,
do. I didn't
yeah,
actually
yeah,
want to be an infantry unit.
yeah.
I wanted to fly helicopters. So I would work with the other helicopter pilots and do all of our pre-briefings before the missions began. We would find our LZs and we would mark our initial LZs. We would have to get that done over, sent that to command for approval. Command would then in the game would add the LZs in our position on our maps
Yeah.
to the map itself, so that then we knew like what the coordinate positions were for pickups and not, and we could communicate those things then to individuals. And we would just ferry troops to and from the battlefield whenever we would get special comms that were like, hey, special operations is completed, I need you to get to this grid reference, save, like get these people out, then get them to over here. Like
Yeah.
those were my missions.
While you're getting your tea, oh man, I don't wanna
No,
kill your train of thought.
go.
Okay,
I
I'll
got
go.
coffee. Go.
So actually, to me, this relates to the original thing we were talking about, which was the playgrounds of play, or I forget exactly what the book was called, but There's one game I was thinking about as you were talking about this, and that is Roblox. And I've played a decent amount of Roblox games. It's really interesting because one of their tenants, they have like three pillars as a company,
Okay.
or and I forget the other two, but one of them really caught me off guard. One of their pillars is role play, like
Yeah.
it's baked into the company and their philosophy to allow people to role play. And I'll tell you about a kind of a jarring experience I had while playing this game. So, Five Nights at Fred, or not Five Nights, Friday Night Funkin', which is
Oh,
just a DD.
I don't know that one at all.
Oh, so that is just a DDR game
Okay.
that blew up because it was they 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 tweaked the theming a little, but it's basically a web game that got really popular, and it's just a DDR game. Um, but somebody, people have taken this core concept and put it in Roblox. Now you would think that's kind of silly. It's like, why don't you just play the web version of this game? But I know
because the kids
I,
want to play Roblox.
yeah, that's one way. And man,
I
do they
got
get really.
fuck Roblox as well. Fuck Roblox.
Let's go into that right after this.
Fucking $74 IPO. Fucking bought in, goes up to $114, and then fucking tanks down to like 38. Like, fuck you, Roblox. Why are you getting sued out here? What are you fucking up for?
Yeah, Roblox, you gotta.
You are the future. You are the metaverse.
Should have squeezed your devs more.
Yeah.
Made more money for us stockholders. But, I was playing with somebody in this, and this was a younger person, and we played we played the DDR stuff, and then later, she would just be like, "Oh, here's some boon boxes. Let's role play over there," and that really sort of clicked a little bit in me. Is like kind of similar to what you said about those playgrounds. Is like people are designing their Roblox games to they seem to have an innate understanding, maybe not a sophisticated one, but an innate understanding of what people or what kids will see and want to role play into.
Sure.
And that is interesting, and I think it's very similar to a book. These are the modern virtual playgrounds that allow for play states and allows for like crazy retention, because when people are getting, once they've done their DDR, they're kind of tired of it. They're like, hey, let's do something social. And it's very, very interesting and very important for kids.
People underestimate what small interactions, how good small interactions can be within video games.
Yes.
And how much that benefits to immersion within that area. We've
Totally.
talked about this before, where it's like, as a player, I am playing, but my entire context for that gaming world is through my character. Everything that touches my character and interacts with my character, I only see through that character. I have to go to that thing, I touch it, I hit a wall, I walk into it. And as our perceptive field moves into that game, we start getting a feeling for the edges of our character, the boundaries of the world, and what we can do within those things. Interestingly enough, like, if this all plays back into immersion, Sims and all of these games, Mount and Blade, GTA Online, Arma 2's life mods, like, how far do you want to go back here, right? Like, Cops and Robbers, like, they are all these ways for the player to be able to sit into a rule set, say, I am this role within this rule set, and that gives me purpose and place within this world. And now all of a sudden I have context of what my actions are and how I'm going to then actionably move those things out. We see that even now, and one of the biggest praises for Stray has been its interactable elements.
Yeah.
I'm able to walk across a piano. Ha! Hoo-hoo! Isn't that so fucking cool? Like, look at all the cat things I can do in this game. Look at all the cat things. It's like, that's all I've seen. I haven't seen, like, hey, what is the game? But, I've seen every sort of cat thing that you can do within the title.
I want to say that's first off, that's a really good point because mechanically, especially if you're a a hardened game designer, you're like, I've seen these mechanics everywhere. But the fact that it's contextualized with a cat theme, obviously has a lot of effect on the player.
Absolutely. And then, you got Gary's Mod and Gary's Mod House, like, or whatever. Gary's Mod Tower, I think it's called. Where then you take a bunch of smaller elements and build it into this real world context and then apply it to the player so that they can be social within these spaces and be social in many different vectors. Like, hey, like, do you want to go to a museum today? Like, let's go do that. Um, I think that we've seen how hard and how far the bar is when we actually first got to VR and started trying to do these things in VR. Because all of a sudden you see, oh, players actually want to be able to pick up everything. Like they want to be, when you're in VR, it's unbelievable. Like in a regular video game, you see a trash can on the thing.
Yeah,
It's a static prop. It's locked into the world. It's baked in. Nobody gives a shit. We move away from it, right? We don't care. In VR, it's like, dude, I want to go through that trash, dude. Where's my? I want to sit in it. I'm a little rat.
yeah,
I'm a little rat boy right now. Rat attack. Right? Like I want to do dumb stuff like that. VR chat has had to, in general, user generated content (UCG) is the supporter block for that concept, and all of that is built off of small building blocks that you can give the player to be able to allow creators to build bigger functions that are still small and self-contained that then they can put out into the world to be able to flesh out that world more. And
I like that.
in the same way of the playgrounds, these kids are building their own tools of play to be able to play. Whether it be, I'm going to build a boombox, and if your boombox gave me a URL, that, like, hey, like every time I try to touch it on, it gives me a little URL prompt, and I stick in a YouTube video, and then all of a sudden it starts playing that audio through the thing. It's like, hey, that's a tool. Like, yeah, sure, whatever, copyright. Let's not think about any of that. But that's still that is a great thing then that people can kind of get around. Like, I used to just go watch YouTube videos at the Gary Mod Tower Theater, like fucking way back in the day.
Yeah,
And I would just sit there and just put on YouTube videos and literally sit there and watch and talk to random people about it. I think that, like, I don't know, like trying to loop it all back, right? Like, what does it mean for modern games to allow for play versus like these like bigger open spaces to allow for play, right? Like, but the bigger thing here I think we're touching around is contextualization of play, and it's there's a lot of fucking factors that go into what it means to play, but the rule sets around it is what really seems to try to build that thing in. When I'm doing Mountain Blade, it's the Lord of the Rings, and I am the protector of the ring, and I must beat Sauron. We must beat Sauron. We're all gonna do it, right, guys? Everything's gonna be fine. Okay, cool. All right, we're definitely not gonna die like 100 times, right? So like, that's great because I know who I am. I know what my role in that world is, and here are my tools to be able to execute on that. And here's the other people who also reinforce my play because they're also in the same state of play. And by doing that all together within our box of this level, this contextual world, in the same way of a playground of four walls and an area, I have fun. Fun is generated, right? I can have these entertaining experiences from not a whole lot of mechanics. Like, what did you get to do when you were in Mount Blade? Like, you had a sword, you got a shield,
yeah,
you got a spear that you can throw. Like, these are tiny mechanics.
yeah.
There's not much there. You know what I mean?
Yep. Even just forming a shield wall with friends, even if it was ineffective, oh man,
No, yeah, just
that
dumb
felt
shit.
great. Yeah. Yep.
The fact that you would even do it was the
Yeah.
fun, right? Like, fuck it, dude. Like, there's like 20 people. We're like doing Roman fucking lattices
Exactly.
over. Everybody took the same history class.
I have a question about play. This might be a harder question, but it seems like you have a you've read quite a bit about it. So I originally, like maybe a few minutes ago, I was thinking, okay, kids in Roblox, they will role play anything. Like they see anything, and there's other players around them, they will immediately go into a role play state of mind. And then I was thinking like, oh, adults don't seem to go into role play as easily. But yeah, but you started asking things, and as soon as you said Mountain Blade, I was like, oh yeah, we definitely, maybe it's not like a kid, I don't know, a kid form of role play, but yeah, we immediately went into like Lord of the Rings style and other epic battles. And there's one more actually. There's another genre which I don't see very often, but I love it. I love cop games.
Yeah,
I don't know if you even played very many, but there's a game called,
loads.
yeah, there's an indie game called Hot Brass, and it kind of is a top down. It's top down. It looks like Monaco, so it's not
Oh,
very immersive at all. But the fact that we were playing as a sort of novel theme, you don't get to play as cops very often, from what I've
skirmish
seen.
line, top brass,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, no, I'm sorry.
hot brass. Okay.
Hot brass. Um,
Oh, I
I
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because it's a theme we haven't explored very much, we sort of got into perhaps a role play mood to play it out and to explore the boundaries or the rule sets, like you said,
Everything else
of that
has
role.
failed.
So my question to you is, what do you? I mean, do you think role play lessons as you get older? Do you think it's just an experience thing? Is like, oh, I've role played as a criminal a million times. You know, GTA. I've done it a million times. So maybe it's less playful. Like, what do you think?
So that one becomes interesting in just on that last point of if I've done it a million times, do I pull myself out of it? And I actually think that in a weird way you get better. One of the things that play and playing around the same rule set gets you is that you're able to actually find the cracks in between play and be able to do what's called right like find the fuzzy line on the edge of play. Play is really interesting in play context spaces, especially when we're doing with kids. Right? Is you'll like I'll give you an example. We're playing tag, but I tag you, I'm it, and I tag you, and then you instantly tag me back.
Yeah,
Now all of a sudden, I don't actually agree with that rule. And now all of a sudden, play stops.
yeah,
Play stops completely. And I go and say, no, no, no. And then you go, yeah. And then we resolve what happens there. Like, what's the new rule? So, no tag backs. You need 3 seconds. Hey, whenever you're it, you need to put your hands over your eyes and wait 5 seconds, and then you can be it, right? That is how we end up like when rules get broken or we don't agree with the rules of play instantly stops.
yeah,
We all have to align on what the rule set is, but in video games we can find our nice fuzzy path around those things when we get really good at it, when we get really understanding of where the edges of the line of those things are. So it's like, oh, I might tag you, and then you might sneakily count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then tag me back
yeah.
and say, I counted. You
I
know,
see. Yeah,
you didn't say how long. I counted to
yeah.
3. Like, just count to 3. Like, I counted to 3. 1, 2, 3. Get fucked, dude. You're
You
it.
know, very quickly tying it to the real game world when you say that. In terms of play stopping, because of a clash of rules. So in Smash Brothers Ultimate,
Okay,
there's a
don't go crazy off a tangent right now because I'm only halfway through the point. But
Oh, okay. Very quickly
yeah,
then,
go.
Steve is the Minecraft character, and he kind of breaks the rules, and people think he's OP. They're trying to ban him right now. So in a way, that's kind of like banning, certain OP tactics in tag.
That's funny that Steve, the fucking Minecraft
Yeah.
character, is like the most OP character in
Yes.
Smash. Just goes
Yeah.
over there and just starts crafting shit, just
Exactly.
blowing people up for no reason.
But yeah, go on.
He is pretty goddamn BM though. I'm not gonna lie. Like the animations feel really BM at times.
Exactly.
Like it's fucking crazy. But no, but here's what I've been trying to tell people for a while now, where it's like over time in the world, people would age out of play. because you had to. The reality is that the world 20 years ago to even 30 years ago to 40 years ago was a much scarier place.
Sure.
Much more fraught with violence, much more fraught with dangers, or really lurking around every corner. I mean, as an Irish person, I mean, Dublin City was a bit of a nightmare. But I mean, think of New York City even in the 70s. Go back to the 1800s. Go back to the 1700s, and try to think about how would adults play within these contexts there. Especially in an honor system when men were judged by the brass of their character and the strength of their word, being eloquent and being as highfalutin as like and straightforward as possible, and not affording yourself play was a big proportion of society, right? We weren't allowed to play
Good point.
because everything was very real. And they brought that and would beat that out of their kids, and we had no time for play. Kids would be working in the fields in London. They're working in the factories at a young age. We need to make money, so the family is having 7 children, so that maybe 4 of them survive, but none of them really get a great education, right? Or whatever, right? Obviously bad context, but fucking go back in history, you'll find it. It's there.
Oh yeah.
So we did not afford play as much as we do today. And the adults that have aged out of play today are a symptom of that era. And I see it all the time, and those in certain aspects of people, when you're just walking around, go to the dog park, and you see people do this. I'm a playful person. I am here, right? So I go to the dog park. I've got a ball. I'm throwing the ball around the place. I'm moving it in my arms. I can't not do that. I'm playing with the ball. But then you'll see people that are very, very uptight. And you know for a fact that they haven't played anything. They couldn't even consider the idea of picking up a tennis ball and throwing it in the air to catch it, to see
Right.
how high could they throw it up to catch it, and could they throw it up and then catch it in their left hand or in their bad hand, or maybe they'll throw it from behind their back, right? That train of thought doesn't even register for those people, and that is sad to me. That is really sad. It's a symptom of somebody who is completely blocked off almost all ability to feel vulnerable, because to play, especially as an adult, to play in public is to be vulnerable. You have to.
Yep.
I gotta be a role player. I gotta put myself out there. I gotta improv. I gotta try to do something. You know what I mean? I don't know what this means. And then they internalize it, and they see themselves, and they cripple themselves and beat themselves down of like, oh no, I shouldn't be that way. No, that's not real. That's not what a real thing is. Like, I'm this person. No. Like, I can't be this whole thing. And that ability, that or inability to play, yeah, it stifles creativity. It stifles communication. I think that it's I mean, no offense to these people, I mean, I get it, everybody's different, but like to me it's like you're an NPC, like you're a drone, like you are everything they wanted you to be. Like, you have lost your childhood, you have lost all idea to connect to even your dog. Like, how do you even get that your dog is having fun right now? Why is your dog having fun? Do you even think about that? Like, no, you don't. You just think that children play, and that's just a thing. And then, what I mean? But you never think about what the context of, like, what are they doing? Like, can I join in? Hey, yo, you guys building with blocks? Like, I'll build some blocks, right? Like, yo, you got some Legos? Dude, I'll do some Legos. Like, let's do it, right? Let's make a village. Let's do something, right? That's sad to me, and I see that everywhere. And funnily enough, I see that in all of this, like, hustle culture and this whole thing of work your ass to the bone and everything is real, and like, and like I stop playing your social. Some people are playing their social media like a game, in the
Oh
same
yeah.
way, right? And like that's their game, but it's and they want to see those likes and those numbers go up, and that helps them and makes them feel good about themselves, but also their play, and how they're ranking within the global PvP board of fucking bullshit, right? You know what I mean? But that's not that's like socially engineered and not really presented as that, but it becomes that for some people, and that's dangerous as well, because it's competitive play versus social play, like we're talking about, right? Social play in the terms of big play box, lots of people, everybody has a role. You're a cop, I'm a robber, haha. We're just enjoying ourselves, right? Like we're in that thing. But as soon as you start ranking me against other people of how well I'm doing within those things, like that creates way other problems within that same rule set, that same play area. Now, so there's just two different things to try to like think about. Is like maybe play has changed for adults, and it definitely has. But I think that we unconsciously play, but we play in scarier realms, like these weird PvP ladder things. But a lot of people just have zero context and concept of play, and literally will not do it ever for like the rest of their lives. And that's just sad for me. They don't even think about it. They don't
Yep.
even consider the idea to let themselves loose for just 3 seconds. Just fucking flail your arms, dude. Just, I don't
Yep.
know, do something. Pretend you don't need to pretend you're a helicopter, but just, pick up a ball. I don't know, throw it against a wall. Try to just
Yeah.
find something.
What you said about the social media stuff, a lot of people would say when it comes to play, once you start getting more into real world stuff, the play kind of evaporates, and that's definitely something that happens when yeah you're competing to be the top Instagram person or whatnot.
Yeah, see, I think it's all play. I think it's still play. It's just that it's constituted in a different way, and it's presented in a more more like in your face, like real
Okay.
world stuff. But like I think that I gotta go make this video, and that video's gotta be this way, and I gotta make maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know, because maybe that's like the commercialization of play, but I don't really. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, the past things you said in general, I think were really insightful because when I was just thinking about it as you're talking, I was like, I'm not. I initially thought I was like, okay, what if it's an evolutionary thing? What if we just phase out of play as we get older? That was kind of my original thought, but you started talking about the social stuff, and to me, that was easier to think of examples. I was like, oh yeah, I can think of people seeing a bunch of people play around them, but then they think about how stupid they're gonna look, so they don't engage with it. So I start to I am thinking it's more of a cultural thing, the phasing out of play. Now that
Mm-hmm.
you mention it,
Yeah, it's you know, but we'll see. Again, we're afforded play as adults more than any time in the evolutionary history of humans ever. It's a great time to be a game designer, to make games, and I would never be able to do this without a civilization basis that you know was not reliant on the basic necessities, like right from the get go, right?
absolutely.
You know, if we literally didn't, back in nomadic times and then moving into, I don't know, Jesus Christ, I'm going to throw out the Paleolithic, but it's not that at all. But that's not even a word, I don't even think. Let me just parrot shit from my brain and just mash it all together. But like as we're moving from like state to state, and we're now moving from now we need buildings, and we need huts, and we need not temporary shelters, we need real shelters, right? Like there's play within, hey, how do we build this thing when we never built something before? But there's also um, but there's also real world consequences to what that means. So we're not afforded in the same way, and it's not thought of in the same way. But later on in life, now it's like, yeah, like I can jump on a game for a little bit, and I can play. I can play a game, so I can play within context, or like I can be given the context. I'm not necessarily doing what I describe as also like the weirder world of outside world play of like, hey, can you just like make a game, like jump into a play state yourself? Like, do you ever just pick up a pen and just start flicking it around the place? Right? Like that's a state of play. That's you
Okay.
in play. Like that's but in the real world, and you're playing with yourself. You're trying to beat yourself, and you give yourself weird, wonderful rules. And hey, wow, can I do that? Can I flick it all the way around my fingers? Oh my god!
Just throwing something into the trash can. That's a very small mini game we
So
play
much
all.
fun, and that's why paper toss was so massive. Rip Backflip Studios. See you later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's all I got on it. I mean, shit, dude. I mean, there's loads of things. Um, hold on a sec.
No problem. And yeah, that's all I got too. Is that's going back to the book. Yeah, that definitely makes me want to take a look at that one. But instead, I'll just wait till you finish it and then summarize it for me. But yeah, to the designers out there, I guess a takeaway is think about play and think about how we are gonna evolve our play. It's definitely gonna be pretty social. That's what the new forms of like games and Roblox and everything allows. Kind of new ways of having social play in games that we didn't really have as much before.
Think about versions of play. Do not get linked in that video games and board games are the only way to play, and that's what play is.
Yeah,
Think about how context matters within play, and how that overarching kind of narrative or that very loose thing builds into the world that you're trying to create for people. But also read other things that are not necessarily about play, or play in different areas of life. Find it. You know what I mean? Just learn about different things. Here's like a great example. You want to go and write epic stories? Do you want to go and write epic boss battles? Do you want to make the best, you know what I mean, the best RPG that you can possible? And you've never written a story, and you've barely written about characters. Maybe you've read like 4 books in your entire life, and one of them was like Huckleberry Finn or something like that.
there I am.
Go learn about ancient heroes. Go learn about what David and Goliath was about. Go learn about Marcus Aurelius. Read about Rome. Find characters and great people in life and read about their amazing journeys. Give yourself some context for the boundaries of things, and use that to fill back into your style, into what you're trying to make. It's not just games. It's everything that builds into this medium. It's,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? So don't get
You,
if you're coming up, don't get stuck on just like I only gotta look at other video games, right? Just like we were saying with lineage and stuff. It's not that. It's what are you trying to what do you want that player's role to be within that world that you're trying to sit them in? Who are they? And how is their journey going to matter or change? It doesn't matter if it's social play. It doesn't matter if it's linked time to the past. It doesn't matter. Just think about it.
if you are only looking at other games, you're pretty much gonna only make games that sort of resemble what you're seeing. And likewise, if all you look at are YouTube like game design video essays, it's gonna be the same thing. You really do have to look out there for more. If you want to stand out, if you want to be the first mover, not just somebody that's following others.
You want to be that innovative person that builds something that changes the industry, that or doesn't change the industry. You don't need to. I always think that changing the industry is a very commercial term. I think that indie games really just say, no, I'm going to build this experience, and that's what I want the player to play. And honestly, most people don't play it, but then some game designer plays it, and they're like, dude, this is fucking great. Are you serious? And then we need to put that in the next fucking blah, 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 blah. And they're like, then that becomes this other thing that gets abstracted higher, and now, like, you know, innovation is it's all fucking bullshit, right? But
right.
You know, risk management, that's a whole different other topic. But yeah, dude, way to fucking riff one out real quick.
Hey, yeah, you're basically scolding me to read more books, and I will.
That sucks. It's only good for me right now. I only picked up that book because my girlfriend is a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, interesting.
And she studied at NYU, early child development, and has been getting her her master's in this stuff. So we talk about child's play, and then I've got a couple of like books and snippets on it, so we've just been able to kind of do this. But funnily enough, I wanted a new book off of the shelf the other day, and I randomly just pulled that Lady Allen book, and I was like,
yeah,
I have this? What the? I have this. And I was like, when did I buy this? And the leaflet.
That's like my Steam library is like that.
The leaflet inside said I bought it in 2019, and I was like, I was really excited about this book. I must have just brought it home and stuck it on the shelf and just instantly forgot that it existed. So, cool. It's nice to go back to things like that. But Calvin, we didn't get any subscribers on our last video. We got nothing. We got 17 views though, but we got no subscribers.
Hey,
so
that's on us. We got to give hotter takes.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to everybody. Actually, I will go over this. Like, no, fuck it. Come on. I don't give a shit. I'm doing this with you, and then anybody else can go. If you guys want to go, best of luck. Subscribe, like, enjoy yourself. But I'm gonna look at analytics for 2 seconds and talk about this while we're on the call. YouTube Studios. I need you to interpret this for me because I think I'm interpreting it right, but I also think I'm interpreting it wrong. Also, there's this other podcast called The House of the Dev.
Привет, друзья. У меня
if you've ever seen this, it's all in Russian, but they got John Romero to come on there the other day, and they're speaking all in English, which is great to see.
Well, let's get John Carmack on ours.
Funnily enough, I got to meet Romero.
I have as well. He's a super nice guy. I've heard nothing but great things.
Him and Brenda.
Yeah.
Let's see. So elegance in game design. That's the one we did last, right?
Yes.
Oh, where's the fucking video description? What the fuck? Okay. No. Our last one was 13. So we've had 8 views. Screen. Let's see. So, does this look okay to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so analytics. Watch time. 2.2 hours.
Must be bots. No,
8 views, 2 more than usual. But the biggest thing here was seeing this watch time. So thank you to the people who came here from the video ads originally, and then have now actually looks like 2 people basically watched through the entire video for the most part. So
I love these personalized shout-outs. Hey, viewer one and viewer two,
yeah, dude.
you're awesome.
Viewer one, viewer two, you fucking rock, dude. Hell yeah. That's
Like
like
Twitch, when you're a Twitch channel and you only have 10 regulars, like you give them plenty of love.
it's huge. You gotta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, look, who the fuck are we? You know, I haven't done shit. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, fine, whatever, fucking.
We're up and comers,
We've done
so
well.
people we get to see the early days of us.
Done enough, but no name, and that's the worst part. Is when you have no
Sure.
names, like you can't just say words and
Yeah.
build an audience. But let's be honest here, it's not really for that. That's not the purpose. The purpose is just to fucking try to even just talk about it. Because when the fuck would you in your own daily existence?
Right. And we both have gripes about certain
Lots of shit.
practices in the industry. So if we have gripes, I'm sure other people have, and we're trying to solve these problems together.
Yeah. All right, everybody, like, comment, subscribe. I love you all. I will SUD in or UV in or anything if you're whatever in the comments later on. Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, watch me end the call without fucking closing the recording.